stories. Stories which touch us, stories which heal us, and stories which become us. A conservationist who specializes in conservation with seals. He asked me where I'm from. I said, I'm from India. He said, oh wow, land of stories.
Think about it. The only information that might have fascinated those people to find where India is must have been stories. And stories travel.
Bluedot. So a lot of people asking that, what is it? And what is Kaushiki Chakravarti and Shantanu Mitra doing? Two unlikely dots. Why Bluedot? So I think this podcast is primarily to explain what is it that we're doing with Bluedot and what is Bluedot.
What is Bluedot and what's the vision?
Yeah. So I just want to remind us that it started with our common love for stories which touch us, stories which heal us, and stories which become us. And I think individually we have been through in your pure classical music and my Bollywood music. Somewhere or the other, the desire to tell stories is there. May not be so apparent, but that's the idea. We've worked best when there's a story with which we connect.
Mm-hmm.
Easier for a Bollywood because it's story-based.
Yes.
But it's much more difficult in your expression of music, which is not so much literature-based.
Yeah, I wouldn't say difficult. I think there's a lot of scope there which hasn't been explored as yet.
That's true.
But yes, there's always a need for any creative person, I think, through whatever medium of arts, to tell, what really moves us. And there are always stories that we grow up with, that we bump into in our experience of life. So I think arts has always been a great medium to tell the stories and what those stories made us feel.
In a TED conference many years back, I had met a conservationist who specializes in conservation with seals. He asked me where I'm from. I said, I'm from India. He said, oh wow, land of stories. And I could understand what he's saying this, because when he's from Iceland, it's one language, one topography, mostly one season.
One season, yeah.
Monochromatic. And suddenly, if you think of Iceland, you think of India.
Yeah.
It's every square kilometer is
and
a diversity.
Such a small country in terms of of the size of it, but
so
the diversity.
We often complain about things about this country has. But he reminded me of the opportunity that this country gives, which is stories and people.
Yeah, and hundreds of years back, somebody wanted to find out India. The only information, if you can think about it, the only information that might have fascinated those people to find where India is must have been stories. And stories travel.
True. So let's share with the audience the projects that we are doing under Bluedot.
Yeah.
That'll be wonderful. So I did a 100-day journey across the Himalayas, above 14,000 feet, encountered stories, collected stories happened to me. And I created a musical from this journey. Each story inspired me to create something.
This is which year, you remember?
This would be
2017?
Yeah,
16,
2017, 18.
Yeah.
Something
so
like that.
Almost 10 years
back. That is when I did, yeah. So that's one project which is coming under Bluedot.
Yeah, I mean, in the very classical, semi-classical space also, where storytelling has not been very common, I always felt that I've always been fascinated and moved by the stories of the female musicians from the yesteryears, and they have always been my heroes. for the lives they've lived, for the difficulties, for the challenges, and yet the kind of music that they've given us, the entire repertoire of Thumri, Dadra, Hori, Kajri, from there to ghazals. It has been like a beautiful space that has not only musically great, but also they spoke about their lives in those compositions. They were composers, they were lyricists, they were singers. So it's very fascinating for me. So even in the classical, semi-classical music space where storytelling is not very common, and that is not sometimes the driving force for the music to happen, as a girl and learning from a man, understanding female expression was very important for me. So listening to Begum Akhtar, Shubha Gurtuji, Noor Jahan, Kishori Amunkar, Parveen Sultana, M.S. Subbulakshmi, all that has been very crucial to who I wanted to become as a female vocalist, classical musician. So, and their stories, their lives, it was not only their music, it's the life they lived. It's the stories of their lives that they tried to tell through their music. Sometimes compositions were written by them, composed by them. The entire courtesans, the Devdasis, all those traditions, they really fascinated me. And I always wanted to tell those stories. So I thought of one project that I have been doing called Remembering the Divas. They are the divas for me. They will always be the biggest inspirations. And in terms of legacy also, I think somewhere I carry their legacy also, though I haven't in conventional sense have learned from them. But it's a female expression. It's a female perspective to classical, semi-classical music. That is the gift that they've given me. And that's the tradition that I carry forward as well. So Remembering the Divas has been telling their stories. So, small anecdotes and all that. So through that concert, I've tried to sometimes humanize them, sometimes, say how godly their music is, and yet how challenging their lives have been. And music has been the narrative.
Yep. So this thought just came to me. Have you ever wondered that some of the greatest songs of Lataji, of Noor Jahan, of Asha Bhosle, suddenly, for example, expression like कुछ दिल ने कहा कुछ भी नहीं ऐसी भी बातें होती हैं. It's so feminine, so delicate, composed by a man, written by a man. The history of film music, some of the greatest songs of women are created by men.
Yeah, some of the Thumris are also.
And I just feel that sometimes in art, gender disintegrates because certain fundamental emotions are fundamental.
Are universal, yeah.
Yeah. And I think I just feel that sometimes I often see this, that as soon as you gender typecast an art, like it's a female artist, a painting, it kills the creation.
It does. I mean, it kind of resonates with me because when I did Sakhi so many years back, I thought it was just a musical ensemble telling stories of womanhood. Again, stories. But everywhere, wherever we've performed, and it's been so many years that the ensemble has kind of traveled across the country and abroad, everywhere our introduction is that a female musical ensemble. So what is important is not the instruments we play or there's a dance element in it, and it's perhaps the only ensemble, at least at that time, where we had vocal music, instrumental music, percussion and dance come under the same umbrella. Generally it doesn't happen. Dance is always music and dance, whereas music is it includes dance in it. So all these factors were not important. What was important is this is a female musical ensemble. Whereas all other ensembles that I've ever seen in life, they're never called male musical ensemble.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's just how you typecast.
Yeah. My sister was a doctor in the army. She keeps on saying that's probably one of the only places she feels eyebrows are not raised when the doctors, a male or a female doesn't matter. The patient is in crisis. There's a doctor who's going to come to save. Never once it crosses your mind that my patient will be looked at by a woman.
No,
Come
yeah.
back to the
Chandran.
so the next project, which is very exciting, which is coming out under Bluedot, is Chandrayaan. I was fascinated by a movie called E.T. I was completely blown by how Steven Spielberg took an ugly thing like an E.T. and made it so adorable that in the end, when E.T. was going home, people had tears in their eyes, and I realized that it's never the physicality. It is the storytelling which can make a very, very unappealing looking thing become so endearing. That's the idea when it came to me. Why don't I humanize Chandrayaan, especially when it was taking its maiden voyage to go to the space and go to the moon. So that's a musical again, where Chandrayaan is a 21-year-old kid who's planning to leave his mother, the Earth, because he's tired of constant pressures from home, do this, do that, and he wants freedom. He wants to go out. So it's that journey. It's like a musical.
Yeah.
That's very.
And I also remember at the end of that concert when people left the auditorium, they were also in tears for a satellite.
Yeah. So that's the endeavor of Bluedot, constantly to do things which generally seems these dots don't jump.
Unrelated.
But then again, that's the idea of Bluedot, that when you see the Earth from far, you don't see these unrelated things. You just see one thing, which is the Bluedot.
Yeah. And I think what made us make Bluedot, and Bluedot we're talking about, it's a company that primarily ideates
and a platform
and creates. Of course, to start with, it's an ideation kind of a bag where different ideas come and we stitch it together and we tell stories through music. And like, I think it's also a lot interdisciplinary. It's also visuals, it's also lights, it's also a lot of ways that kind of facilitates us to tell the story. And I think what was necessary, what we both felt necessary, was that to have a structure to this madness, because anyway these ideas are very crazy ideas to start with. So we needed some structure to this madness to put it together and to make them ideas that could be presented to an audience that needs a proper platform. Sometimes that platform can be an online platform, digital. Sometimes it can be a live platform. Sometimes it can be a film. But yes, it needed a platform which was more structured. So Bluedot happened. So now Bluedot is an ideating company. Bluedot is a YouTube channel. Bluedot is a social media platform. And there are, as one can imagine, there are so many more crazy ideas.
Yeah, these are baby steps, but they're important steps.
Yes. I think the biggest significant step as a structured company Bluedot took was Pankh.
Yeah, let's talk about Pankh. What's coming up next?
Yeah, so a year back, the existence of structured company Bluedot came into existence with Pankh. So Pankh is a series which came out in my YouTube channel because Bluedot platform was we were still building it. And now I think after the series, after the album of Pankh, and now after having toured extensively with Pankh, I think the next biggest thing for Bluedot and for us to look forward to is the documentary movie of 12 City Tour of Pankh.
Yeah.
A live concert tour of an independent music album coming from a Bollywood composer and a classical musician. Everything is unrelated. And the album is such that it's quite unbound by the concept of genre. So we don't know what genre it is. And we've spoken to all our musicians. They're like, Zarurat kya hai? It's okay. One doesn't have to one doesn't have to box it. So I think the documentary, it kind of culminates the entire journey of Pankh from the starting of the thought process to bringing it to a live audience and to understand how something as crazy as this is received. Because many a times we judge the audience. We say that this is what they want, whereas we really don't know what they want.
Yeah.
All we can do is what we believe in, and very strongly, authentically kind of live it. And then we put it out, and then whether they receive it, whether they understand it or not, whether it connects with them, we should just leave it to them.
It's our job and responsibility to put it out there.
Yeah.
And something about art, Kaushiki, is, and that's happened many times in movies. I can give you an example of Parinda. I worked very, very closely with its director, with Vinod Chopra, and he often tells me this story that when Parinda released, it didn't work. But today it's a reference point in filmmaking. So time, we have to put it out there. Maybe that particular time doesn't get it. But when the time changes, something new happens. It'll connect it. You cannot just create keeping in mind responses, because maybe another time will have the response. This will not. That's why that self-belief and faith that I believe in this, so it has to be put out there, which is the whole idea of Bluedot.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell a date to when this documentary is coming out?
Oh,
so
yes.
That people know?
It's just 1 year of the first day of launching the album, which is 11th of July. 2025 is when we did the first concert
in Royal
and
Opera
launched,
House.
And launched Bluedot and Pankh.
Correct.
Both on the same day. So it's 1 year of Bluedot and 1 year of Pankh. And a lot has happened. Bluedot is an active platform for podcasts now. And we've done a few amazing storytelling sessions and, sharing of ideas and thought process with some of our very, very close friends who are incredible, amazing in their own fields. So, so it's 1 year of launching the album. 11th July 2025 when Bluedot was born. So it's first birthday of Bluedot and Pankh. 11th of July 2026, Pankh live concert documentary is coming out.
Excellent. So this part is done. Do you want to talk about Young Masters?
Yes.
Yeah. There's an article in New York Times which said that the movie business has gone through a huge dip, but the gaming business is booming. Speculations as to why. Storyline, production, a lot of stuff. It boils down to one thing. Movies have lost their heroes. Gaming has their heroes.
Wow.
Okay?
That says a lot.
Heroes are very, very important for legacy to move on. If there are no heroes, it becomes very difficult for a movement to happen. Historically, we have heroes, superheroes. Superheroes comes in all shapes and sizes. The world of animation and gaming has Supermans and Spider-Mans. But in real life, there are Mahatma Gandhis and Martin Luther Kings. They're all heroes. Somewhere in the society, we stopped creating heroes, looking at heroes, making heroes. And now I'm coming to music. Often, important music genres are searching for heroes. And I often personally feel that we keep on going back to the old heroes, but time has come for new heroes to come up, because the next gen,
of course.
They are looking for young heroes.
But I have a question for you, and this is a very personal question. Do you think that, because you said that heroes, society needs to make heroes, do you think that heroes can be made, or it's a certain kind of a character that eventually emerges as a hero? Do you think the ones who have become heroes would have planned to become heroes, or it was just a natural journey that brought them somewhere and they started becoming icons?
It's a bit of all that. Nobody plans to be a hero. But what happens is that somebody does something so outstanding, somebody becomes so outstanding, that the society has no choice but to look up saying, wow, it's like a celestial event.
Also, if I may add, do you think it's only somebody becomes so good, or it is also something that's equally important? Somebody becomes so different.
A new path.
Yeah.
New path to tell a story.
Because I remember talking to Uncle Ji, and it will keep on coming back.
Please tell who Uncle Ji is.
Uncle Ji is my Uncle Ji, Ustad Zakir Hussain Ji. I've always referred to him as Uncle Ji. So when I spoke to him about so many things, he always said that, you see, I'm not the best tabla player. That's why I'm saying that it might not be only excellence. He said that I'm not the best tabla player on a particular day, given day, when I'm not at my best or someone else is at their best. They will just fly. But I think everyone is a result of certain decisions that we took at certain points in life. And that kind of made our path different. And when you make that choice, you don't know where that difference is going to take you. But you have to have conviction, you have to have belief in it, and you have to stick to it.
Kaushiki, every generation needs their own heroes.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
For example, for an entire generation, Satyajit Ray was a hero. But if you stopped creating new heroes and just relied on that one...
No, I'm saying when we are thinking of making, creating, helping, guiding people to become heroes, I think all these are tried and tested paths that have taken people to a very different destination, where difference, courage, conviction, all these play very
What
important.
Heroes does is makes it easy for a bunch of young people to pick up that path. For example, you mentioned Zakir Hussain's name. Thanks to him, a lot of people had curly hair.
Yeah.
And thankful that a bunch of people started playing the tabla.
And tabla became like a universal thing.
But time has come. Time has come that the young kid who is 3 years old has no clue who Zakir Hussain is.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay? If you want that guy to pick up a tabla, very, very quickly we need to have another hero.
Yeah.
And now multiply with every genre of life.
Yeah.
That's what I meant, that we need heroes. That's why I started with the New York Times article which said that that's why the movies are failing. Suddenly there are no heroes. So I've personally felt that, especially in a place like India, and we have talked, you and me, about it, you have introduced me to so much of talent, especially in Indian classical music, who are virtuoso performers, brilliant. But we don't know them because a machinery has not worked to make them the heroes. There are different times. We have talked about it. It's not about good and bad. Anybody who is coming on the algorithm of Instagram is becoming more popular. Yes. Instagram does not know whether you're good or bad. It's the repetitiveness of coming together, which is mechanical.
It's hammering, yeah.
So now, how scary is that somebody who has the time, the commitment, and the money to be constantly there on something which is mechanically moving can be more popular than somebody who's putting the time in Riyaz.
And also, so that's the dichotomy of our generation and the younger generation, that content creation is a full-time job.
Yeah.
And our full-time job is supposed to be Riyaz.
Correct.
So how do we manage? And these two need completely different mindsets. So you cannot do this and then every day remember to make a reel which is, hashtag something, trending something, some music that you have to play that is going on in some particular movie. You just cannot do it. So there has to be, as you rightly said, there has to be a machinery that has to help these kids concentrate on their music, where this machinery can run and help them become more and more relevant in the algorithm world. Because that we can't just deny.
So that is the vision of Bluedot.
Yeah.
That I think this year we have identified 2 artists. Do you want to say who they are?
Yeah, of course. I mean, there are many, but to start with, I think we've decided to work with Pratik Srivastav, who's a fantastic, amazing sarod player.
Yes.
And he's younger to me, but I have so much respect for the human being that he is. And I think for me, it matters a lot, maybe more than music. That it's a human being that really makes me think how important, how crucial a character, a personality, a calmness. He's a total zen. It's so unusual for his age, and I know him since his Kolkata days. I know his family, his mother, his mama, everyone. So he comes from a musical family. It's a fantastic sarod player. And the second name?
Second name is our dear friend, and I think one of the most incredible young violin players we have heard is Ambi Subramaniam. And I think it's a privilege and an honor for Bluedot that we are launching the Young Master Series with these two incredible instrumentalists. So look out for this channel for more activities.
Oh yeah, and not only, I would like to say that for both of them, yes, they both come from musical families. So there's a legacy, there's a tradition, there's a very hardcore classical music environment that has groomed them, that has nourished them. But as human beings, as musicians, as excellent, instrumentalists, and as creative people, as composers, I think they have decided to take their instruments on a journey which is not conventionally expected.
Yeah.
They're doing so many different kinds of experiments. So it's also, I think, of course, these two musicians and their journey, but it's also the journey of the instrument.
That's true.
That from where they pick it up and where they take it and where their vision takes it, it'll be an amazing journey for the music lovers and audiences and admirers of music and people who are really, younger and picking up these instruments, to see that what are the possibilities with this instrument that these two people are exploring into and what their vision is. And by the time they become, fully mature musicians, I can only imagine how spectacular their journey would be.
The two things that they're doing wonderfully, and Bluedot wants to be part of the journey. One is that they coexist in two things: pure classical and whatever they choose to do as an experiment.
Pure imagination.
Pure imagination. I think both are required to coexist, and that's what they're doing. And we want to support that coexisting as a Bluedot. I would never want a situation where somebody is giving up something pure just because something else is more popular. If we can create a platform that you can express what is your base.
Yeah, and also other way around. I don't want anyone to stick to pure music because there's a judgment attached to it, that you're better if you're a Puritan. No.
Yeah.
You are best when you do whatever is possible with your expression, be that your voice, be that your music, your instrument.
And we really, really want that for the young kids growing up. Pratik and Ambi are the Supermans and the Spidermans.
Yes,
for their instruments. That'll be amazing.
Absolutely. So Bluedot YouTube channel is going to be a very, very interesting YouTube channel to follow. I promise that. So the link to the channel is given below. The podcast series that we do, which is called Between Two Notes, Note 1 and Note 2, with our friends. So that podcast is coming in Bluedot YouTube channel. And the Pankh live concert documentary is also coming on Bluedot channel on 11th of July 2026. And there are loads of new content coming in our YouTube channel. So please follow our channel. So Bluedot Instagram handle is going to be, there's going to be fireworks there very soon, because we're coming up with this documentary of Pankh 12 City live concert tour. And all the content, all the, the short formats, the reels, I don't know what the words are, but you know it. So all of that is coming in Bluedot Instagram handle. And also the series of Pankh, the series that we had released 1 year back. From every episode, some interesting stories, some interesting anecdotes and moments, we are bringing it all together in the form of reels on our Instagram channel. So follow Bluedot's Instagram channel with all the stories that we will try to tell through music.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.